"If you are good," I told her. "Oh, Mamma," she answered, "then if I am not good, shall I go to hell? Well, you know what I will do. I shall fly to you in heaven, and you will hold me tight in your arms, and how could God take me away then?" I saw that she was convinced that God could do nothing to her if she hid herself in my arms. Marie loves her little sister very much. Indeed, she is a child who delights us all. She is extraordinarily outspoken, and it is charming to see her run after me to confess her childish faults. "Mamma, I have pushed Céline. I slapped her once, but I'll not do it again." The moment she has done anything mischievous, everyone must know. Yesterday, without meaning to do so, she tore off a small piece of wallpaper. You would have been sorry for her. She wanted to tell her father immediately. When he came home 4 hours later, everyone else had forgotten about it, but she ran at once to Marie, saying: "Tell Papa that I tore the paper." She waited there like a criminal for sentence, but she thinks she is more easily forgiven if she accuses herself. Papa's name fills me with many happy memories. Mamma laughingly said he always did whatever I wanted, but he answered: "Well, why not? She is the Queen." Then he would lift me onto his shoulder, and caress me in all sorts of ways. Yet I cannot say that he spoilt me. I remember one day while I was swinging he called out as he passed: "Come and kiss me, little Queen." Contrary to my usual custom, I would not stir, and answered pertly: "You must come for it, Papa." He refused quite rightly, and went away. Marie was there and scolded me, saying: "How naughty to answer Papa like that!" Her reproof took effect. I got off the swing at once, and the whole house resounded with my cries. I hurried upstairs, not waiting this time to call Mamma at each step. My one thought was to find Papa and make my peace with him. I need not tell you that this was soon done. I could not bear to think I had grieved my beloved parents, and I acknowledged my faults instantly, as this little anecdote, related by my mother, will show. One morning before going downstairs I wanted to kiss Thérèse. She seemed to be fast asleep, and I did not like to wake her, but Marie said: "Mamma, I'm sure she is only pretending." So I bent down to kiss her forehead, and immediately she hid herself under the clothes, saying in the tone of a spoilt child: "I don't want anyone to look at me." I was not pleased with her, and told her so. A minute or two afterwards I heard her crying, and was surprised to see her by my side. She had got out of her cot by herself, and had come downstairs with bare feet, stumbling over her long nightdress. Her little face was wet with tears. "Mamma," she said, throwing herself on my knee, "I am sorry for being naughty. Forgive me." Pardon was quickly granted. I took the little angel in my arms and pressed her to my heart, smothering her with kisses. I remember also my great affection for my eldest sister Marie, who had just left school. Without seeming to do so, I took in all that I saw and heard, and I think that I reflected on things then as I do now. I listened attentively while she taught Céline, and was very good and obedient, so as to obtain the privilege of being allowed in the room during lessons. She gave me many trifling presents which pleased me greatly. I was proud of my 2 big sisters, but as Pauline seemed so far away from us, I thought of her all day long. When I was only just learning to talk, and Mamma asked: "What are you thinking about?" my answer invariably was: "Pauline." Sometimes I heard people saying that Pauline would be a nun, and, without quite knowing what it meant, I thought: "I will be a nun too." This is one of my first recollections, and I have never changed my mind. So it was the example of this beloved sister which, from the age of 2, drew me to the Divine Spouse of Virgins. My dearest Mother, what tender memories of Pauline I could confide to you here! But it would take me too long. Léonie had also a very warm place in my heart. She loved me very much, and her love was returned. In the evening when she came home from school she used to take care of me while the others went out, and it seems to me I can still hear the sweet songs she sang to put me to sleep. I remember perfectly the day of her first communion, and I remember also her companion, the poor child whom my mother dressed, according to the touching custom of the well-to-do families in Alençon. This child did not leave Léonie for an instant on that happy day, and in the evening at the grand dinner she sat in the place of honour. Alas! I was too small to stay up for this feast, but I shared in it a little, thanks to Papa's goodness, for he came himself to bring his little Queen a piece of the iced cake. The only one now left to speak of is Céline, the companion of my childhood. My memories of her are so many that I do not know which to choose. We understood each other perfectly, but I was much more forward and lively, and far less ingenuous. Here is a letter which will show you, dear Mother, how sweet was Céline, and how naughty Thérèse. I was then nearly 3 years old, and Céline 6½. Céline is naturally inclined to be good. As to the little puss, Thérèse, one cannot tell how she will turn out, she is so young and heedless. She is a very intelligent child, but has not nearly so sweet a disposition as her sister, and her stubbornness is almost unconquerable. When she has said "no," nothing will make her change. One could leave her all day in the cellar without getting her to say "yes." She would sooner sleep there. I had another fault also, of which my Mother did not speak in her letters. It was self-love. Here are 2 instances. One day, no doubt wishing to see how far my pride would go, she smiled and said to me: "Thérèse, if you will kiss the ground I will give you a halfpenny." In those days a halfpenny was a fortune, and in order to gain it I had not far to stoop, for I was so tiny there was not much distance between me and the ground. But my pride was up in arms, and holding myself very erect I said: "No, thank you, Mamma, I would rather go without it." Another time we were going into the country to see some friends. Mamma told Marie to put on my prettiest frock, but not to let me have bare arms. I did not say a word, and appeared as indifferent as children of that age should be, but I said to myself, I should have looked much prettier with bare arms. With such a disposition I feel sure that had I been brought up by careless parents, I should have become very wicked, and perhaps have lost my soul. But Jesus watched over His little spouse, and turned even her faults to advantage, for, being checked early in life, they became a means of leading her towards perfection. For instance, as I had great self-love, and an innate love of good as well, it was enough to tell me once, "You must not do that," and I never wanted to do it again. Having only good example before my eyes, I naturally wished to follow it, and I see with pleasure in my Mother's letters that as I grew older I began to be a greater comfort. This is what she writes in 1876. Even Thérèse is anxious to make sacrifices. Marie has given her little sisters a string of beads on purpose to count their acts of self-denial. They have really spiritual but very amusing conversations together. Céline said the other day, "How can God be in such a tiny host?" Thérèse answered, "That is not strange, because God is Almighty." And what does Almighty mean? It means that He can do whatever He likes. But it is more amusing still to see Thérèse put her hand in her pocket, time after time, to pull a bead along the string, whenever she makes a little sacrifice. The children are inseparable, and are quite sufficient company for one another. Nurse has given Thérèse 2 bantams, and every day after dinner she and Céline sit by the fire and play with them. One morning Thérèse got out of her cot and climbed into Céline's. The nurse went to fetch her to be dressed, and when at last she found her, the little thing said, hugging her sister very hard: "Oh, Louise, leave me here. Don't you see that we are like the little white bantams? We can't be separated from one another." It is quite true that I could not be separated from Céline. I would rather leave my dessert unfinished at table than let her go without me, and I would get down from my high chair when she did, and off we went to play together. On Sundays, as I was still too small to go to the long services, Mamma stayed at home to take care of me. I was always very good, walking about on tiptoe, but as soon as I heard the door open there was a tremendous outburst of joy. I threw myself on my dear little sister, exclaiming: "Oh, Céline, give me the blessed bread, quick!" The custom still prevails in some parts of France of blessing bread at the offertory of the Mass, and then distributing it to the faithful. It is known as pain bénite. This blessing only takes place at the parochial Mass. Editor. One day she had not brought any. What was to be done? I could not do without it, for I called this little feast my Mass. A bright idea struck me. "You have no blessed bread. Make some." Céline immediately opened the cupboard, took out the bread, cut a tiny bit off, and after saying a Hail Mary quite solemnly over it, triumphantly presented it to me, and I, making the sign of the cross, ate it with devotion, fancying it tasted exactly like the real blessed bread. One day Léonie, thinking no doubt that she was too big to play with dolls, brought us a basket filled with clothes, pretty pieces of stuff, and other trifles on which her doll was laid. "Here, dears," she said, Choose whatever you like." Céline looked at it.